Hey everyone, welcome back. We're looking at the expanded emulation capabilities of the NES Classic Edition today. Most people are talking about Super Nintendo and Genesis, but I think there's another system that's worth your time if you're unfamiliar, the Turbografx 16. The Turbografx 16 was a bit of an enigma for me. It wasn't a system I owned or ever even played as a kid. I remember seeing it inside the glass case at Toys R Us that made up the electronics aisle. By that time I was already heavily invested in the NES, and eventually Super Nintendo came out and I migrated to that. In the late 90s I picked up a few consoles that I had missed out on, the Model 2 Sega Genesis and a few others, but still no Turbografx 16. Flash forward to 2012 and curiosity finally got the better of me. As it turns out, there are 138 North American games and about 650 Japanese games. That's right, the Japanese catalog dominates this system by an almost 5-to-1 margin. The next big surprise? The games for this system are incredible. Most are beautifully drawn, full of vibrant colors, sound amazing, and most importantly, are fun to play. Here's where we come full circle. The NES Classic Edition supports the ability to emulate the Turbografx 16. Beyond that, you can simply use the stock controller and get a fairly accurate experience since the controllers between the two systems are so similar. If you've never had the opportunity to experience this phenomenal system, here's your chance. First things first, make sure you've installed the Turbografx 16 emulator onto your NES Classic. Secondly, don't think of this as a best of Turbografx 16 video. Rather, it's more of a bridge list to encourage those of you familiar with Nintendo to give this great system a shot. Think of these games as your gateway drugs to the world of NEC's Turbografx 16. Alright, first up, let's take a look at Salamander. If the box art looks familiar, and it should, this is Life Force on the Nintendo. Again, this is our bridge into the Turbografx 16 world. If you ever wanted to see what a better version of Life Force looks like outside of the arcade and on a home console, this is it. We'll just play through the first stage and let you see some of the graphics, how it's rendered. So right away, very familiar. This should all look, anyone who's played Life Force, this should be very familiar. You notice the game moves a little bit faster. I personally feel like it's a little bit more difficult than the NES version. Level design is very similar. I think what stands out the most is just the colors and how vibrant this is compared to the Nintendo version. You find that to be the case with a lot of the Turbografx 16 games. Alright, here's our final boss. Hopefully this isn't too much of a challenge. And that's it. That's the end of the first level. It'll show a little bit of the vertical side of this as well. So yeah, this is Salamander. It's a good way to take your first step into the Turbografx 16 world. Alright, next up is Nutopia. If you ever wanted to re-experience Zelda, but for the first time, here's your chance. It's a really cool intro. I like the contrast of that reddish orange against the blue backdrop. And obviously, this isn't going to be a playthrough, but we'll let you see a little bit of the intro, and some of the gameplay. the 8 medallions. So right away you see at the top we've got our sword. There are 8 temples to visit and 8 medallions to collect. I think you guys see where this is going. The layout, the feel. You can even see how the enemies snap back when they're hit with the sword. Holding something up over our head after we acquire the item. I have played this through, and I can say that there are hidden bomb spots. This is basically, this game is Zelda. So you can see pushing the run button, not start, the run button, pulls up our item selection screen in the map. Again, this has Zelda written all over it. Overall, this game, having played it the whole way through, it's pretty fun. If you ever wanted to almost recapture that magic of playing Zelda for the first time, this is a good game to do it with. And that is Neutopia, our Zelda clone for the Turbografx 16. Definitely check it out. Alright, next up on our list is Bloody Wolf. It's admittedly a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. I think you'll see why. It reminds me of a number of different NES games. Commando stands out as one of those, but there's plenty of others. Let's go ahead and check it out. Pretty easy game to pick up and play. Your first button shoots, the second button is your jump, and that is pretty much all you need to know. Alright, there's my shotgun. Pressing the run button will throw grenades, which is kind of interesting. See at the top I have the grenade count. And this just might be the most phenomenal part of the game. So, I mean, I'm on a motorcycle and tearing through an enemy base, just shooting. I mean, it just doesn't really get a whole lot better. This game makes the list for this alone. Alright, one more time on the motorcycle. I mean, this is just phenomenal. Again, you can even hop the bike across platforms. This is just real action kind of stuff that if you don't enjoy this, there might be something wrong with you. Alright, so your first boss is a submarine, which is pretty classic arcade style. Really need to finish this off right here, or else I'm in trouble. There we go. And that's stage 1 of Bloody Wolf. It's a lot of fun. Definitely recommend checking it out. Next up is Blazing Lasers. It's a Turbografx 16 classic. Anyone that has spent any time with the system will tell you that, including Kanye himself. Alright, so right out of the gate we can see that this is a vertical shooter. It's pretty simple compared to some of the other shooters that are on the system. It's no less fun, but really not incredibly difficult. Plenty of power-ups to choose from. Excellent graphics, especially considering the time. And I don't hate the music either. Take out the mini boss and then move on to the final boss. And notice each level has a mini boss followed up by a final boss at the end of the stage. Something that really can't be quantified with this game is just the overall fun factor when playing it. All the power-ups, the music, the dazzling graphics, it just kind of adds to the charm of this title. I can only imagine that if you had played this game back in the day, that there's a nostalgia factor with it that just adds to the overall charm. I mean, just look at these power-ups, they're phenomenal. Alright, first stage boss. This is an amateur hour. And that's Blazing Lasers on the Turbografx 16. There's a number of vertical shooters we could compare that to. For me, I think Alpha Mission stands out. Wonder if Kanye agrees. Alright, next up on our list is Vigilante. Let's check it out. Alright, right from the start we see who made this. It's Irem. If you've ever seen the intro to Spartan X2, it kind of starts off the same way. In fact, I think there's even a cityscape. Okay, so for anyone who's ever played Kung Fu, and you know I have, Kung Fu is probably one of my favorite titles on Nintendo. It's one of the earlier games I had as a kid. This game, made by the same company, Irem, similar controls, punch, kick, jump kick, I think there's a foot sweep. Obviously right now the difference is I'm wielding nunchucks, so that's not happening in Kung Fu. But there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, okay, so the guy shooting the gun here, very reminiscent of the knife thrower in Kung Fu. We're already at the first boss here, so this is pretty simple. Alright, so that was really cheesy, easy to beat. Instead of Marion, we have Madonna. You can see the character even looks a lot like Thomas, the way it's drawn. That, I guess it's a tank top pulled over a t-shirt. I don't know when that look was ever popular when you're not playing basketball, but apparently Irem was big on it. You notice when I do a jump kick, he kind of bounces backwards. That's a little different. It's hard to get used to as well. Makes me not want to do that. Kind of flings me back into other enemies. You see there's that backwards motion I was talking about. The hit detection on this game's a little strange. You'll notice if I get one of these guys up against the back here, it looks like I'm kicking them, but it's not registering as a hit. See there? There we go. There's a hit. Okay, so overall, it's not a terrible game. It's certainly not the best either. I actually would think I would prefer the controls on Kung Fu on Nintendo a little bit better. The hit detection's a little off, and there's just something that's a little sloppy about how this plays. But again, if you are a fan of Kung Fu and making that jump to Nintendo, this game is very familiar. Alright, the last game I'm going to show is Bonk for the system. There's 3 Bonk games. I'm going to show the first one. Bonk is essentially the mascot character for Turbografx 16. So our transition here would be Mario being the mascot on Nintendo. Bonk is the equivalent on NEC's system. He appeared in 3 games. There's a spin-off character called Zonk that appears in Air Zonk, which is a shooter for the system. I'd also recommend you check that one out, but for the sake of the transition video, we're going to just look at Bonk today. Alright, Bonk's Adventure. Okay, so again, Mario equivalent, 1-1. Got the head bash with our B button, also 1 on Turbografx. We can use that against our enemies. A obviously jumps. We've got a head smash we can do by jumping and then pushing our B button. And this is essentially, it's a pretty good game. So this is the equivalent of having star power, as you can see. So there's a lot of there's a lot of equivalents here from Mario to Bonk. You can see I can use my teeth here to kind of scale a wall, which is another interesting feature of the game. So I really do like the level layout. I like the characters. Obviously, I keep talking about the colors and how colorful everything is on this system, and it's just so true. And it's everything is just so nice to look at. It's hard not to fall in love with this system. I got star power again. Just kind of run through these enemies. If I had one complaint about Bonk, it would be I just don't like the controls all that much. I don't like the jump, and there's a little bit of a delay when making him walk. So you notice I'm on the back of a dinosaur right now, which is kind of clever. Again, the level design is just really, really cool. So I think we got to make his mouth open, if I remember. There we go. And then we can go inside. Now you're going through the intestines of a dinosaur. If you've ever wanted to do that, here's your opportunity. But yeah, the game, the designs, characters, everything is just really top-notch on this. And I actually have not played through the second and third game on the system, and that's something I know I really need to do, having enjoyed this. Now here's the final boss for the end of stage 1. He's gonna shoot bubbles. I'm gonna deflect them with my head, and I'm gonna land an attack on the top of his head when the opportunity presents, and I'm just gonna wash, rinse, repeat back and forth. You notice the cracks forming on his helmet, which is pretty cool. There we go. And that's Bonk for the Turbografx 16. Again, the mascot character. If you like Mario, there's a chance you might like this. It's a little different, not quite the same vein, but you might like it. It's a good side scroller in its own right. I appreciate it for what it is. You may too, but definitely check it out and give it a chance. And that concludes our bridge list, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section which of these games you've played and enjoyed. Please click the red button to subscribe, like the video, throw another log on the retro fires to keep it burning, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Thanks for watching.